Let me ask you something very important, and I want you to really think about this for a moment. Not just listen casually, but truly feel the question deep inside your heart. Have you ever been surrounded by people, maybe family, maybe neighbors, maybe even your own children or grandchildren, and yet still felt completely alone, as if no one truly sees you, no one truly hears you, and no one truly understands what you are going through? This feeling is far more common than most people want to admit, especially as we grow older, because society often talks about physical health, about blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and joint pain, but almost never talks honestly about mental health, emotional pain, and silent suffering. Depression, loneliness, and social isolation are not just sad feelings or bad moods. They are real, serious mental health conditions that can slowly drain your energy, weaken your immune system, damage your memory, and even shorten your life if they are ignored for too long. Many older adults suffer in silence, telling themselves things like, "I shouldn't complain," "Others have it worse," or "This is just part of getting old." But the truth is this: feeling lonely, depressed, or isolated is not a normal or inevitable part of aging, and more importantly, it is something that can be understood, managed, and improved when you know what is happening inside your mind and body. In today's video, we are going to talk deeply and honestly about mental health, focusing on depression, loneliness, and social isolation, why they happen, how they affect your life, and what you can begin to do to protect your emotional well-being as you age. Please listen until the end, because what we discuss today may help you or someone you love feel less alone in this world. 1. Depression in later life, the silent, misunderstood struggle. Depression in older adults often looks very different from depression in younger people, which is why it is so frequently misunderstood, ignored, or mistaken for normal aging. Many people imagine depression as constant crying, deep sadness, or dramatic emotional breakdowns. But in older adults, depression often hides behind physical complaints, constant fatigue, irritability, loss of motivation, or a quiet withdrawal from life. You may wake up in the morning feeling tired even after a full night's sleep, not because your body is weak, but because your mind feels heavy and unmotivated. You may lose interest in things you once enjoyed, such as hobbies, social gatherings, or even simple daily routines, and instead of feeling excited about the day ahead, you feel indifferent, numb, or emotionally flat. One of the most painful aspects of depression is the feeling that life has already given you its best moments, and that there is nothing meaningful left to look forward to, which can slowly erode your sense of purpose and self-worth. Depression can be triggered by many factors in later life, including retirement, loss of identity, chronic illness, reduced independence, financial worries, and especially the loss of loved ones, such as a spouse, close friends, or siblings. What makes depression particularly dangerous is that it often goes untreated because many older adults do not talk about emotional pain, either due to stigma, fear of being judged, or the belief that nothing can be done to help. But untreated depression does not just affect your mood, it increases the risk of heart disease, weakens the immune system, damages your memory and concentration, disrupts sleep, and significantly increases the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. The most important thing to understand is this: depression is not a personal failure, and it is not a weakness of character. It is a medical and psychological condition that deserves attention, care, and compassion.
2. Loneliness. Feeling alone even when you are not. Loneliness is not the same as being alone, and this is a distinction many people do not fully understand. You can live alone and feel peaceful, content, and emotionally fulfilled, while at the same time you can live with others and still feel deeply lonely if your emotional needs are not being met. Loneliness is the painful feeling that you are emotionally disconnected from others, that you lack meaningful relationships, or that no one truly understands your thoughts, experiences, and emotions. As people age, loneliness often increases due to life changes that slowly reduce social contact, such as retirement, mobility issues, hearing loss, the death of friends or a spouse, and adult children becoming busy with their own lives. What makes loneliness especially dangerous is that it is often invisible. There are no obvious physical symptoms, no clear warning signs, and many people suffer quietly, smiling on the outside while feeling empty and disconnected on the inside. Scientific research has shown that chronic loneliness can be just as harmful to your health as smoking, obesity, or physical inactivity. It increases stress hormones in the body, raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, disrupts sleep, and significantly increases the risk of depression, anxiety, heart disease, and even early death. Loneliness also affects the brain. When you feel lonely for long periods of time, the brain becomes more sensitive to stress and negative thoughts, which can lead to constant worrying, overthinking, and a negative view of yourself and the world around you. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of loneliness is the belief that you are a burden to others, which can stop you from reaching out, asking for help, or expressing your true feelings, even when support is available. But loneliness is not a sign that you are unwanted or unimportant. It is a signal, a message from your mind and body, telling you that human connection is missing and that your emotional needs matter just as much as your physical ones. 3. Social isolation. How your world slowly becomes smaller. Social isolation is different from loneliness, but the two are closely connected, and in many cases, social isolation becomes the doorway through which loneliness and depression quietly enter your life. Social isolation happens when your opportunities for regular social interaction gradually disappear, not all at once, but slowly, often without you even realizing it at first. It may begin with small changes, such as going out less often because driving feels harder, avoiding social gatherings because your hearing is not as good as it used to be, or declining invitations because you feel tired, uncomfortable, or afraid of being a burden to others. Over time, these small decisions accumulate, and before you know it, your world becomes smaller, your social circle shrinks, and days or even weeks can pass without meaningful conversations or emotional connection. One of the most painful aspects of social isolation is that it often feels safer than social interaction, especially if you have experienced loss, rejection, or disappointment in the past, because isolation protects you from potential emotional pain, but at the same time, it slowly starves you of human connection. Social isolation has serious consequences for both mental and physical health. Research has shown that isolated individuals have a higher risk of depression, anxiety, cognitive decline, and dementia, as well as a greater risk of heart disease, stroke, and early mortality. When you are socially isolated, your brain receives less stimulation, fewer emotional signals, and fewer opportunities to engage in meaningful conversations, which can accelerate memory problems and reduce your ability to focus, reason, and process information. Isolation also changes how you see yourself. Without regular social feedback, people may begin to doubt their own worth, feel invisible, or believe that they no longer matter to anyone, which can deeply affect self-esteem and emotional resilience. It is important to understand that social isolation is not always a personal choice. For many older adults, it is the result of physical limitations, transportation difficulties, financial constraints, or living far away from family and friends. However, regardless of how it begins, prolonged social isolation is a serious risk factor that should never be ignored, because humans are social beings by nature, and emotional connection is not a luxury, but a basic human need. 4. The dangerous cycle: how depression, loneliness, and isolation feed each other.
One of the most challenging aspects of mental health in later life is that depression, loneliness, and social isolation rarely exist alone. Instead, they often form a powerful and destructive cycle that feeds on itself and becomes harder to break over time. Depression can reduce motivation and energy, making social interaction feel exhausting or pointless, which leads to withdrawing from others and spending more time alone. This withdrawal increases social isolation, reducing opportunities for emotional connection, meaningful conversation, and positive experiences, which then deepens feelings of loneliness. Loneliness, in turn, reinforces negative thoughts, such as believing that you are unwanted, forgotten, or a burden, which further worsens depression and emotional pain. As this cycle continues, people may begin to avoid reaching out altogether, not because they do not want connection, but because they feel hopeless, ashamed, or afraid of rejection. Over time, the brain adapts to this pattern. Stress hormones remain elevated, sleep becomes disturbed, memory and concentration decline, and emotional resilience weakens, making it even more difficult to break free from the cycle. This is why mental health issues in older adults can progress quietly and slowly, often going unnoticed until the effects become severe, affecting physical health, independence, and overall quality of life. The most important message here is this: this cycle can be broken. Even small changes, small connections, and small acts of self-care can begin to interrupt the pattern and create momentum toward healing and emotional well-being. Breaking the cycle does not require drastic changes or dramatic life transformations. It begins with awareness, compassion for yourself, and the understanding that your emotional pain is valid and deserves attention. 5 practical, realistic ways to protect your mental health. When people talk about improving mental health, they often give advice that sounds good in theory, but feels overwhelming or unrealistic in real life, especially for older adults who may already be dealing with physical limitations, fatigue, or long-standing emotional pain. The truth is that protecting your mental health does not require dramatic changes, forced positivity, or pretending that everything is fine. It requires small, consistent actions that gently support your mind, body, and emotional well-being over time. One of the most important steps is to create a daily sense of structure, even if your days feel repetitive or quiet, because the human brain thrives on routine and predictability. Waking up at a similar time each morning, having regular meals, and creating simple daily rituals such as a morning walk, a cup of tea in the afternoon, or a quiet moment of reflection in the evening can provide emotional stability and reduce feelings of chaos or emptiness. Another powerful but often overlooked step is movement. Not intense exercise, but gentle physical activity that signals to your brain that you are alive, capable, and engaged with the world. Walking, stretching, gardening, or even light housework can release chemicals in the brain that improve mood, reduce anxiety, and help regulate sleep, which is deeply connected to emotional health. Equally important is expressing your thoughts and emotions instead of keeping everything locked inside your mind, because unexpressed emotions do not disappear, they simply find other ways to affect your body and mental state. Talking to someone you trust, writing in a journal, or even speaking your thoughts out loud when you are alone can help organize your emotions and reduce the mental burden of carrying everything by yourself. If possible, seeking professional support, such as a counselor, therapist, or healthcare provider, is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom and self-respect, because mental health professionals are trained to help you navigate emotions that may feel confusing or overwhelming.
Medication, when prescribed appropriately, can also be a helpful tool for some individuals, especially when depression significantly interferes with daily functioning, sleep, or appetite. And it should be viewed as part of a broader support system, not as a personal failure. Most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Healing is not linear, and some days will feel harder than others. But every small step you take toward caring for your mental health matters more than you realize. 6. Rebuilding connection and purpose later in life. One of the deepest emotional wounds caused by depression, loneliness, and social isolation is the loss of purpose, the feeling that your presence no longer matters and that your role in the world has somehow ended. But purpose does not disappear with age. It simply changes shape. Rebuilding connection does not mean forcing yourself into large social gatherings or pretending to be outgoing if that does not feel natural to you. It means finding meaningful, manageable ways to connect in ways that respect your energy, personality, and life circumstances. This could be as simple as having regular phone calls with a friend or family member, participating in a small community group, joining a class or activity that aligns with your interests, or even forming connections online through discussion groups or shared hobbies. Volunteering, when possible, can be especially powerful because helping others creates a sense of value and contribution, reminding you that your life experience, wisdom, and presence still matter deeply. Even caring for a pet, a plant, or a small responsibility can restore a sense of purpose, routine, and emotional connection, which are essential for mental well-being. It is also important to reconnect with yourself. Spending time reflecting on what brings you peace, what gives you joy, and what makes you feel alive, even in small ways, can help you rediscover parts of yourself that may have been neglected or forgotten. Purpose does not need to be grand or visible to others. It can be quiet, personal, and deeply meaningful, rooted in the simple act of continuing to care, learn, and grow, even later in life. If there is one message I want you to take with you after listening to this video, let it be this. You are not weak for feeling depressed, lonely, or isolated, and you are not alone in experiencing these emotions. Millions of people, especially as they grow older, silently struggle with the same feelings, often believing that they must endure them alone, or that it is simply too late to change how life feels. But it is never too late to care about your mental health, and it is never too late to reconnect, to heal, and to rediscover meaning, even if your world feels smaller than it once did. Depression, loneliness, and social isolation are not personal failures. They are human responses to loss, change, and unmet emotional needs, and acknowledging them is the first and most courageous step toward healing. You deserve connection, you deserve understanding, and you deserve to feel that your life still matters, because it does. If you are struggling, please remember that reaching out for help is not a burden to others, but an act of self-respect and survival. A conversation, a phone call, a shared moment, or a simple request for support can begin to shift the direction of your emotional well-being. And if you're listening to this video and recognize these feelings in someone you love, I encourage you to reach out, listen without judgment, and offer your presence. Because sometimes the most powerful medicine is simply being seen and heard. If this video resonated with you in any way, please take a moment to like this video, because it helps more people find this message who may need it right now. Subscribe to the channel for more videos about mental health, aging well, emotional resilience, and living with purpose later in life. And most importantly, leave a comment below, even if it is just a few words, to let others know they are not alone and to remind yourself that your voice still matters. If you know someone who may be struggling with depression, loneliness, or social isolation, please share this video with them, because it could be the first step toward hope and connection. Thank you for listening, and thank you for taking care of your mental health.